At this stage, he should also be able to put in quick lap times and stay on the road as well.
Very tight and twisting circuit. These final corners have been tightened up to give better overtaking opportunities for tomorrow's race. It does mean the cars are under the cornering load for over 75% of the lap. 1 minute 23.982 is actually a very, very good performance by Cristiano De Matta. His best run in practice was a 1:24.401, so he's chipped a little bit away from that. Certainly no lack of commitment on using the curbs there with the Panasonic Toyota. And Cristiano De Matta, well, I think he's just put a little bit of a smile back on Uwe Anderson's face on the pit wall.
Well, certainly that's, you know, got him a get-out-of-jail card, I think, really. It's certainly a lot better than his warm-up performance and his qualifying performance yesterday. And, well, you know, that puts him in a reasonable position for tomorrow, about where he probably should be, I think. Nothing better, nothing worse. Now, Williams obviously keeping quite a close eye on proceedings. There are the teams at the top and the bottom of the timesheets. And, you know, it's getting warm there. Paul Stoddard looking like he's dozing off in the heat there. This is going to wake him up, though.
Well, Nicholas Chiesa, the Danish driver, second qualifying session for him in Formula One, of course. He moved into the European Minardi team as Justin Wilson moved on and up to Jaguar. And Chiesa again, same Cosworth engine behind him in this Minardi chassis as Baumgartner has in the Jordan. So it really is a little bit of a battle of the two Cosworth-powered teams here down at the tail end of the order. Let's see what Chiesa can do in comparison with Baumgartner's 30.345 second run to the first intermediate marker, 30.48 second. You know what? Baumgartner's quicker than Chiesa.
Well, there is a fair bit of a you know, battle going on between the two rookies. You have to say that if you're new to Formula One, you want to be the one making the headlines and making the waves there. Chiesa just getting out of shape a little bit on the way into the chicane, took a lot of curb in the middle. That would have slowed him down a little bit, actually. So I don't think this is a time that's going to be quicker than Baumgartner's at all. There again, running at too wide weights.
Well, Chiesa and Baumgartner both raced together in Formula 3000 in the past. I haven't actually got any results for any of their races to actually see who actually came out on top. I think Chiesa was the more competitive in Formula 3000, if I remember rightly, but he is most definitely struggling today. So this is going to be a bit of a disappointing lap for Nicholas Chiesa. Watch out, not in this week's race day, but in a couple of weeks coming up, we'll have some interesting stories from the Minardi team, I am sure. We're going to spend a bit of time with them, because I tell you what, those guys are running just as hard at the back of the field as the front-running teams are at the front.
Well, 1 minute 28.9 seconds, comfortably slower than Baumgartner, but, you know, we don't know what fuel strategy this guy is on. Certainly, though, locking up like that on the way into the chicane, tighten the chicane up, and he will have lost a chunk of time throughout that section there. So I don't think the handling of that Minardi quite to Nicholas Chiesa's liking. He's going to either have to, well, he is going to have to dial himself into that, because the cars immediately after qualifying are locked away in Parc Fermé, and the team's not allowed to make any adjustments before the race starts tomorrow. So however the car is now is how Nicholas Chiesa will have to start the race in it tomorrow.
Well, don't forget there's another factor here as we now watch Jos Verstappen coming to the end of his warm-up lap. He is the next car out with the second of the Minardis. It could well be here that Paul Stoddart is running the cars very heavy on fuel and with a hard compound on the tyres. The reason being to make up track positions. This is a very difficult circuit to overtake on. If you can make up track positions while everyone else is taking their pit stops, it's very difficult for them to get past you. And with a relatively slow car like the Minardi, that could be a very, very good way of running your race strategy. Maybe even doing a single stop strategy, in which case these cars are brim full of fuel.
Well, the prospect of doing a single stop strategy here is a very risky one indeed. You can see the twisty nature of the circuit, the temperature as well contributing to really make life very difficult for the tyres. And if you expect to make them last for that long, it really is very difficult. You're going to be in a situation where the car is sliding around quite early on in the race, and the drivers are going to have to cope with that. So it's a very risky strategy to go for it. It obviously will put you back on the grid quite a long way if you're running heavy on fuel today. But you know, you're certainly playing a bit of a gambling game if you're going to do that. Most teams, I think, will go for 2, if not 3 stops tomorrow. But you could be right. A team like Minardi, they're in a position where they don't have anything to lose and quite a lot to gain by going for a slightly more controversial strategy than everybody else.
Well, 1:02.058 is only 0.08 of a second outside Baumgartner's time, or inside Baumgartner's time at the second split. Verstappen, I think, is going to go quicker than Baumgartner, but it won't be a lot. De Matta's time, 23.982. Baumgartner, 1:26.678. Where's Verstappen going to fit in? 1:26.423, second fastest of the 4 cars we've seen so far. And of course we've still got Giancarlo Fisichella still to come. The order at the moment then, Christian de Mata 2.4 seconds ahead of Jos Verstappen. Then it's Zolt Baumgartner, Nicolas Chiesa and Giancarlo Fisichella in the second of the Jordans still to come.
Just looking at the slow motion shots of Jos Verstappen there, bouncing his way under braking into turn 1 there. And really that car looking pretty uncomfortable on the bumps, and Jos really hanging on into it. I mean, quite a lot quicker than Nicolas Chiesa's time there as a result, but look at that, taking all of the curb on the right-hand side and on the left. Full commitment there from Jos Verstappen, and it really is quite difficult to balance a car while it's bouncing around all over the circuit. So good job there from Verstappen.
Well, a great job from Jos Verstappen. Now the men in black go back to the men in yellow, because it's the second of the 2 Jordans on track, Giancarlo Fisichella. Well, he's had all the dramas going on all around him in that Jordan pit garage. Will it have affected his concentration? Or the driver of his experience? I personally doubt it.
No, he is an extremely confident and experienced young man, and you know, really trying to do just the best job he possibly can all the time with the Jordan. I think his sights are fairly firmly set on trying to move teams for next season, Sauber being probably the most likely berth for him. And I think it's very, very important to be demonstrating consistency and just trying to get the best out of whatever machinery he's got on the day, regardless of how far down the grid he is. Look at that, only 0.01 of a tenth slower than de Mata, so that's really going some in a Jordan.
Well, you know, we've said this so many times in qualifying sessions this year. Watch Fisichella. You'll not see great dramatics. You'll see a totally committed drive and a very tidy drive. He knows that by trying to be as undramatic as possible in that car, he'll unsettle it as little as possible. But he is absolutely millimetre perfect. If there's a millimetre of curb to be had, he'll use it, like there. But he does it so smoothly. This is a sign of really somebody who is 1 step ahead of that Jordan car. He's now 1 step ahead of Christian de Mata. This is a superb performance by Giancarlo Fisichella.
Well, he flew through the chicane, and the following 2 corners were inch perfect. Now he may well have lost a bit of time in these final 2 corners. De Mata was pretty quick there, running a bit wide of the final corner. Can he hang on and just maintain that advantage?
It's going to be close, but it is P1. 1:23.726 seconds. That is a superb performance by Giancarlo Fisichella. And, well, Giancarlo will be very, very happy with that, I am sure, because he really did just do everything that car could do, but not take it beyond its limits. That is what it's all about when it comes to qualifying a car that's maybe a little bit down on horsepower. And Giancarlo Fisichella gets a just reward. Fastest of our first 5, ahead of Christian de Mata by 1/4 of a second. Jos Verstappen 3rd, Zolt Baumgartner 4th, and Nicolas Chiesa on 5th. Plenty of drama still to come, so stay with us here, Star Sports. 89.147 seconds, that's his target to beat at the first of the timing beams, and that is just coming up now, and he's not far off.
Well, straight line speed at that section, just a shade slower than Kimi Raikkonen's. I think he lost a bit of time, ran a fraction wide at turn 2, hence the 0.3 of a gap between the 2 of them. Now, that's quite nice through the chicane. Didn't take too much of the apex curb on the left, though, so a bit conservative. It's these corners here, though. Now we're getting to the section where where Nick Heidfeld, rather, was awesome yesterday.
Well, Nick Heidfeld was very quick through his final section of the lap. Whoa, and that is total commitment. Throws up the dirt on the outside of the curb. He's now 0.8 of a second down, though, on Kimi Raikkonen. But is this going to be P2? I think it is. He will demote Justin Wilson from that second spot. The question is by what sort of a margin, because 1:22.742 plays 1:23.660 for Justin Wilson. He's going to be somewhere in the middle. Oh, only just ahead of Wilson, so losing time all the way through the tail end of that lap. Nick Heidfeld won't be as happy with that as I think, because I reckon now he's going to be looking down, still at somewhere down near the tail end of the top 10. Well,
you know, that corner 11 sort of over-exuberance there really did cost him some time. A bit conservative through the chicane. It just caught the apex curb a little bit wrong. We saw him struggling for room on the exit of the corner. You can see running the right wheels up the curbing. So he won't be too happy, won't be as happy with that lap. I think, as he would have been with yesterday's. Now, Michael Schumacher already on circuit. Another driver taking a very slow out lap, just making sure he wants to maintain the temperature in his tyres rather than continue to heat them up. Because as you can see, and as we have seen with a few of these drivers, the grip in the tyres, that ultimate new tyre grip, not quite lasting an entire lap. And really, some of these drivers really struggling for grip in the penultimate corner and the final corner, where it's tyre grip that really gets you performance and cornering speed. Now, Michael Schumacher taking it nice and steady, just feeding in the temperature now in the penultimate corner, into the last corner now, where he builds up the speed.
Well, Michael Schumacher only did a 1 minute 23.48 second lap yesterday. That really wouldn't be good enough here in the current form. He has gone faster in practice, though. A 1:22.313 was his best practice lap this morning prior to this qualifying session. Straight line speed, more than a match for Cristiano de Mata. Cornering speed, I expect, is going to be higher for the Ferrari, just as it was for the McLaren, Chris. But it's all down... Oh, and that was what I was about to say. It's all down to not making mistakes.
Since Michael Schumacher was last on circuit, he's ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, but only just. He's now got to put together a lap without too many more instances like that. Another big oversteer on the way into the corner.
Yeah, but did you see that? There's a little bit of cement dust down there. Somebody had obviously dropped oil from a supporting race. He put a wheel on that, and even though they cleared up that oil, it was enough just to break the traction momentarily on the Ferrari. That's the sort of thing you've got to watch out for. That's where Michael Schumacher may have lost time to Kimi Raikkonen. It's going to be very close indeed at this intermediate marker. Uses every bit of the curb. Yeah, he is outside of Raikkonen, and that is a surprise.
Well, I think it's a surprise to Michael. The track conditions and the handling of his car not quite as good as he expected. He's really asking a little bit too much of that car on the way into the corners. Obviously, grip was better this morning than it is now, and as a result, he's losing a bit of time with those slides on the way into the bends. He was 0.3 or so down before. Well, he's clawed back a lot of the time there as he's learned what these limitations are in the car, but not quite enough.
Well, that was a pretty impressive recovery by Michael Schumacher. He was 0.3 of a second down at the intermediate marker, but once he got that car up and running, you could hear him using the throttle through the final corner. It was stunning to watch. Here's where he just lost it on the brakes into turn one, into turn two rather. That car just going light at the front end here. You see the front wheel lock up. You notice how his cadence braking, just coming off the brake pedal to get the grip back into those front tyres. But that lost him an awful lot of time. He made it up brilliantly, though. Tremendous drive through the chicane, just absolutely stunning, just hurling the car through there. And total faith in his machinery, as always with Michael Schumacher, and that's what allowed him to claw it back. But it is still Kimi Raikkonen from Michael Schumacher. Williams have still got 2 cars to go. Juan Pablo Montoya is the first of their cars. He's out on track now.
Okay, well, Montoya now, he really should be able to put together a good lap time. Straight line speed, a fraction quicker than anybody else now. 1 kilometre, not really much in it, but certainly very quick indeed. Now he's much neater through turn 2 than Michael Schumacher. I wonder if they've been watching the TV screens. Maybe they might have told him to watch out for turn 2. Be aware there might not be quite so much grip as you are expecting. Flat, not looking too twitchy. This is looking nice and nice and well balanced, the Williams at the moment. Now again, the chicane. You can be over conservative. That doesn't look conservative at all, though, to me. This is looking like a very quick lap.
Juan Pablo Montoya, absolutely the quickest car on the straight previously. And watch again, Kimi Raikkonen's split time, watch the speeds as well. He is absolutely flying, only just inside Raikkonen's time. But look at that straight line speed. That is the horsepower of that BMW engine working absolutely overtime. Through the final sequence of corners now for Juan Pablo Montoya. The time to beat, 1:22.742. Kimi Raikkonen's time. Just look at him fighting that steering. Absolutely awesome on the run to the line. Has he done it? Yes, he has, by half a second. And that was a superb performance. You know his trouble? He's still got Ralf Schumacher, his teammate, to come.
Well, as we said with Kimi's time, it was a very good time, all except for one corner. The second sector just ends before that corner, and it was very much neck and neck at that point. But as Montoya did a perfect run through the corner where Raikkonen made his mistake, well, you saw the gap open up half a second, really. This is the corner we're looking at now. This is where Montoya continued to put together a perfect lap, and that's the difference between those two drivers at the moment. But as you quite rightly say, we've got Ralf Schumacher and David Coulthard both coming up, as well as Rubens Barrichello, all 3 of them capable of putting together very good lap times. But I have to say, it's Ralf Schumacher. He's the one I'm looking for.
Well, you know, I'm going to add 2 more names to that list. Jarno Trulli in the Renault, Mark Webber in the Jaguar. Both of those guys have got points to prove. So is Olivier Panis.
More down to the drivers, but these longer corners more down to the car, the aerodynamic grip, how much grip you've got left in your tyres, and the overall balance of the car. Now as we come up to that second sector, it was just over a tenth of a second gap. Now, nearly 8/10, and that's the difference between those cars.
Well, that's more than the difference between himself, Kimi Räikkönen and Michael Schumacher as well. So it is going to be, I think, fourth place for Olivier Panis now. I thought potentially he had the chance here of actually getting the car round in time to get into the top three. It's not going to happen for Olivier. Can he make it fourth fastest, though, on the run to the line? Throws a lot of dirt off that curb. It's P4 for the Toyota of Olivier Panis, 1 minute 23.369. Juan Pablo Montoya still fastest, 1:22.180. Kimi Räikkönen for McLaren, second fastest, 1:22.742. Michael Schumacher, 1:22.755. And then 1:23.369 for Olivier Panis. And that is over a second away from pole position. There are really two classes of car here at the moment. The Williams, the McLaren and the Ferrari at the front. And then, would you believe, a whole second covers all the way down to 11th place.
Well, that's slower than his time, Olivier Panis' time from yesterday, so he'll be disappointed about that. Quicker than this morning's time, but well, certainly Montoya's gone quicker than yesterday, so he will have been hoping to do the same.
Well, I was just about to take a bet that that was going to be a red and yellow flag. Fernando Alonso, well, he's had the moustache and beard painted on his photograph above the pit garage. He's not going to be too worried about that if he gets a good time today. He was a little bit disappointed yesterday at being outpaced by his teammate Jarno Trulli. Trulli demonstrated that the Renault has the potential to go for pole position here. Alonso, well, he made a couple of little mistakes. They added up to down the order in 6th place. He is determined now to make amends.
Well, it's very close between the two Renault teammates. They were separated by less than a tenth of a second in this morning's practice sessions, with Alonso coming out on top, actually, this time around. So it's good competition between these two, driving each other forward. But Alonso is driving against a teammate who is massively on form at the moment. He's 0.2 of a second down at the moment on Montoya's time at the first sector. But it is, again, this second sector where the Renault could have the opportunity to come into its own. The BMW straight line speed really will have helped it in the first sector. Can the good handling of the Renault claw back some time in these longer sweeping curves?
Well, you see the speed trap now, 237 kilometres an hour, but look at the cornering speed. As we've so often said, the Renault may be short on absolute horsepower, but it has the sweetest handling chassis of anybody's. And that car, well, that's what it's doing at the moment for Alonso. Trouble is, this is where it needs to be on the power and have been rocket propelled up to that start-finish line. Is he going to be inside Montoya's time on the run to the start-finish line now? It is 1 minute 21.688. P1 for Renault. Absolute delight for the men in blue.
Well, that's extremely well done there for Fernando Alonso. Really strung together the last half of that lap perfectly, really. The car was bucking around on those bumps. He hung on to it. That's a very good time. Again, here we see him just going through the chicane, taking all of the curb on the way in. Big oversteer there. Full of commitment. Great lap time.
Oh, fantastic stuff from Fernando Alonso. And the great news is we've still got more to come as well. 5 cars still to come. Barrichello, Coulthard, Webber, Ralf Schumacher and Jarno Trulli in his Renault. So plenty more action. Stay with us after the break.